have a story to share.
Oh, I'm so excited you have a story to share too. So when I got your message and I heard some of it, I'm just really pleased that on this Sunday in which we're talking about this, what are the ancient secrets that can help with this? You have
Yeah.
such a powerful case. And not only that, but we have some of the pictures and videos and different
Yes.
things. So I want you just to start, as
Yeah.
a mother, first of all, when did you notice that something, I don't know, when did you start to have a concern and what was it like?
Yeah. So, ADD it's a very specific thing, right? Because you can't necessarily look at a child and tell that they're struggling on the inside. So my son was just, always very busy, 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 so much energy. I thought it was just me that I couldn't keep up with him. I was like, tired all the time. And, and growing up, when you talk to people about this, they kind of, brush it off at times like it's his age. Um, but so by the time, he was in kindergarten, we had already changed his schools 3 times because no teacher could handle him. And I remember waking up in the morning and I would be so anxious and so stressed, so worried, how is his day going to go? Did he sleep enough? I mean, just the worry I had in my heart for him every day it's just indescribable. And, and yeah, so by the time he was in kindergarten, he was in his 3rd school. And we had him assessed for the ADD and he was on a scale of 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit more, like mentally, emotionally, for you as a mother, how did that affect you and other people in your family, maybe, just to see this and be experiencing
Yeah,
it?
it was truly heartbreaking, Clint. And and thinking back to it and my state of mind, I remember thinking to myself one day, I don't even know if Charlie can tell how much I love him. Because when he looks at me, I think the only thing he sees is worry. I think I wasn't aware that my face always probably had this furrowed brow, that I was just ready to be there any moment that he was, doing something wrong or jumping off the top of a tree or being unkind to another person because his body was just moving too fast. Um, so it took a huge emotional toll. It took an emotional toll on me physically and mentally. In the morning I would wake up, my whole digestion was completely off because I would wake up feeling those physical pangs of anxiety in the morning. Um, and I knew that I had to change that part of myself mentally because it's impossible to show up for your child um, when you're letting the stress of what's going on in your life totally take over your life, right?
Yeah. When teachers would send their comments back, like what kind of stuff did they say? And like, how did it occur that you had to keep switching schools?
Yeah, so they would say he refuses to listen. He, isn't kind to his friends. He refuses to follow direction. And it kind of got to the point where I would pick him up from his little preschool during the day. And I don't know if any other mothers out there can relate to this when their kids have ADD, but you see all the other kids getting picked up and they're like, they had a wonderful day, she did great today. And then it got to the point where like even the teachers, when I picked Charlie up, because they didn't want to say anything negative, they just wouldn't say anything at all, you know?
Wow.
And so, I mean, in his 2s and 3s class, I was having multiple meetings with the teachers. And it was one of those situations where, I kind of thought, well, they were the professionals. They would know what to do better than me, but they didn't know what to do. Um, and
Did they,
so,
did they recommend testing or what made you go in originally? Is it okay if I share this first photo?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what brought you to this point?
Yeah, so this was a really scary time for us. And this Clint was actually about a year ago this month. So he was in kindergarten here. And so not only did he have ADD, but he started to exhibit these eye movements. He would look back and forth and around every few minutes. And so we were really scared. We didn't know what was going on. It was clearly something with his brain. He wasn't in control of it. So we went in for the EEG. And it came back with just his EEG was normal. So they diagnosed him with a generalized tic disorder. And in Western medicine, the answer for tics is nothing. You do nothing. And then the answer for ADD is you medicate. So, neither one of those things were gonna work for me. um, So that's when we really started to take a different approach. And whenever you're ready, I can kind of get into what we did.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Now, when they measured it, they have a scale, and you said it was 9 out of 10. Can you talk a little bit about what that means, that scale, and what were their recommendations?
Yeah, so when you go in first to your pediatrician's office, there's certain different ages that they test these things. So when he was so young, we had to do a certain type of assessment of the pediatrician. And then when they're older, they can do a different kind of assessment. But you kind of fill it out, you talk with your doctor, and it's basically a questionnaire, and then the doctor examines them. And it's so much more in detail than what they ask you, life and what could potentially be causing it. But that's basically how they assess it. What are his behaviors like? What does he do? And so we had to answer the questions. We answered as honest as we could. And so, yeah, it came back that almost everything that they were asking on that scale of ADD, like he was doing everything plus some of those. So that was our first assessment. That's how they kind of measured it.
Got it. And then did they have some recommendations based upon that assessment?
Yeah, so he was younger at the beginning, so they didn't recommend medication right away, but they recommended medication maybe in a year if he was still exhibiting, the same behavior. So I think they try to wait until they're 7 to make like a firm diagnosis, because I think when they're younger, they think that they can grow out of things. But the symptoms of ADD, this is what I've learned in just doing some research, can be caused by lots of different things. It can be issues with the actual brain, but in Charlie's case, ended up being, what helped him was just recognizing his body was inflamed because he was allergic to so many different kinds of foods. So it's just good to kind of do your own research, I think, and figure out where are these symptoms coming from, because this diagnosis of ADD is so broad, and it's not well done in the way that they diagnose it.
What made you, it sounds like you didn't want to do medication. What was it why didn't you want to? What was it in your heart that made you?
It was just my heart. It was more just a gut instinct, Clint, that's just not what I wanted for him. And just a little bit that I did know about medication, I knew that it could change his sleep patterns and that it could change his eating. And he ate everything and he slept 11 hours at night. So I didn't want to change what was already positive, And I just saw, for me, and looking at my child, I just saw someone whose potential was there, right? That I just, we just had to take the time. We had to take the time to tap into what is really going on here. We had to reach him a different way. And that's why I think I was just determined to figure this out on a different path,
Yeah. So then there's some other pictures that you sent, and
yeah.
You want to show some of them, or you want to tell a little bit more about the story?
Yeah, well, no, I can kind of go into it with the pictures. I was just thinking to myself as you and I were talking, in this process, when you're trying to figure out how to help your child, I think back if I had met Dr. Naram, when I was going through this, and he had said, what do you want? What would, and well, I want his tics to go away. I want his ADD to be helped. But then if I really thought about, like, what does Charlie want? What would Charlie do if he had a calm mind and a calm body? And what he would want would to be, he would want to make a friend, because he wasn't able to make friends. His body was too busy. He was too much for people. So that was my prayer every night. I would just pray for health and healing, and I would pray that he could make a friend. So when we started to first kind of change what we were doing, we kind of had to change the way that we looked at him. We wanted just to bring the positive out. We wanted to, have him be able to accept the love that we were giving him, and make sure that he felt that. So we just set him up in all kinds of situations where I think I sent you the pictures of the blocks, and he was really good at that. So we could positively reinforce that anything in nature. We took him to the beach, he dug in the dirt, he caught lizards, and frogs and every kind of animal, and we could positively reinforce him with that, because he's so soft with animals. He's so connected to nature. So really seeing his strengths. And when we started doing just that, Clint, even before the food, what we saw was this child who, instead of being a terror, running around the house, that's not who he is. We saw someone who really wanted to make us proud. And so that was the first step. And so from there, we were able to change the food. And what I did was just do that based on the food allergies that I knew that he had. And then we did, some supplementation, or if people were working with your doctors, they would do the herbs, and we would just crush them up and mix them on a spoonful of honey, and he would take them down and chase it with water. So he was a little pro when it came to that. And he actually really didn't mind taking those, because he would tell me, they make me feel better. This makes me feel better.
Wow, even from the beginning.
From the beginning, like a week in, he fought it for a week, but then after a week of being on, the vitamins, or in this case, the herbs, he was like, yes, I will take them. So, a lot of it was in my mind. I was so scared to change his food and to try to make him take these vitamins, but he was really okay the whole time. So we did the diet. And also, one thing I wanted to say about the course, how it's helped me, is that I was able to learn the foods that just cause mucus in general. And that was a piece I was missing, because even though he was doing better behaviorally, he still was making mucus. I'm like, what am I missing? And so through the course, I was able to kind of fine tune that. And it really, really helped kind of close the gap that I knew, whatever piece I was missing, that was it. And then from the course, we've also incorporated the Marma points. So we do those every day. We do this one and this one here. And then a couple of weeks ago, you showed us the head one.
Yeah, my mom did for me.
Yes, exactly. And so he actually does them to me first. And then he does them to himself.
Well, I love that idea. I love where he does for you and you do for him. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's another thing, and just seeing someone's strengths, because he's very hands-on. Anytime we go to the chiropractor, he wants to do exactly what the chiropractor is doing. So I knew that he would like that. So we stuck with the food, we stuck with the positive reinforcement, and we also took away all screens because of the eye ticks. And so then 3 months into that, his eye ticks completely went away.
Wow, 3 months.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So the eye before it was ticking, and then 3 months just didn't happen anymore.
And it was really great, because, his eye ticks were happening every few minutes. So it was like you couldn't have a conversation with him without his eyes, going back and forth. So to have them completely go away was so, so wonderful. And so then a year in, we had him assessed for the ADD and anything else that he had to challenge him, with his learning at school. And that's when the test came back, and the doctor said, he's about a level 3. And he said, I don't even really see it that much. He said, maybe I would give it a level 3 when he's feeling frustrated and he doesn't really understand what the work is. But he's like, it's really not a thing. His ADD really isn't a thing.
Wow. After a year. Wow.
Oh, great. And so, and here's the thing though, and this is what, I just want to encourage parents to just, to still have hope. That gave us the confidence to know that we didn't need to medicate him from the school standpoint, because even though he's so much better from the classroom standpoint, they're still saying, well, you should look at medication. But for us, we've seen such huge improvement. We're so confident in saying, absolutely not, that's not our path. So not everybody sees it the same way, but, when it's your child and you can see those improvements, it can help you give the confidence to make the right choices for them. But the thing that I'm the most excited to share is that, so right after that assessment, right upcoming on the year, he got invited on his first play date ever. And when I met the little boy told me, Charlie is my best friend. He's my best friend. And that was the first time we've ever been invited on a play date, in his whole life. And so then not only does he have a best friend now in his class, he actually has a little girlfriend too. And I think I sent you the pictures of him giving flowers to his girlfriend. Yeah.
I love it. It's so powerful. Dr. Am, he always would say, if you change your food, you change your future.
Yeah.
And what a gift, even that this, you know which foods impact in which ways, which herbs, which vitamins, which marmapoints,
Yeah.
even with mucus, what was it like before versus after learning it? What changes did you notice?
Yeah, so what he was experiencing was he's had ear tubes for a while before we, kind of made any of the diet changes, and he was always itching his ears. He'd always wants to clean out his ears, and he would have mucus coming out of his ears. It was crazy. And so even just cutting out some of the additional foods, like people don't think about just the wheat and dairy from that standpoint, he was eating a ton of bananas. And so that has calmed down his it was driving him crazy, his ears. And so, and again, when, it comes to these ADD symptoms and in school, the things that they're bothered by in their body, like his ears, those are distracting them from learning. And so that's just been another level where it's like he can just take it down and be calm and focus on his work instead of having to itch his ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shared such a powerful quote too. I don't know if you just want to talk about this for a moment, but it's so powerful. I think so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. If there's any parents on the call, on this Sunday's call, and they can relate to any part of my story, this is just what I wanted to share. It says, don't compare your child to others. There's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. And I just think it's so important. I think our worry as moms can just go so deep, and you want everything for your child. But, with Charlie, it's like his life is going to look a little bit different than other people's, but I just want whatever's best for him, not what I want for him, just whatever is best for him. And I just want, I just hope that and hearing any part of this story that it's just given any mom out there who's so worried about their child and so stressed out, like I was and still can be at times, that it just gives them a little bit of hope. And I wanted to add one more thing about, since we're talking about, from the mother's standpoint, when I started the challenge with the mung bean soup, for me, it was a challenge even to change Charlie's diet because, cooking at home 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for 2 kids, for me can be overwhelming, just food in general. So when I was able to incorporate the mung bean soup into my life, and making a fresh pot every day and just having that on the stove for me to have food all day has been great for me. And I love the smell of the spices as I mix them into the ghee. It just makes me feel so happy. And yeah, so it's just taken that stress off of me for having to constantly think about what am I going to feed myself. I know it's healthy. It tastes amazing. I can eat as much of it as I want. I'm maintaining my weight on it, which is what I want. I don't want to lose, but so for me, it's mentally, it's helped me so much. And then I can really just focus on, what do I feed the kids?
Oh, I love that. And I love it because as you take care of yourself, these kids are sensitive, kids, they can
Yes.
feel. And if you're happy and you're nourished and you're taking care of yourself in this way, everyone benefits, it's
Everyone
contagious
really
healing in
does.
such a great way. Now
Yeah.
we have such a special thing you recorded actually of Charlie himself sending a message to everyone.
Yes.
Is it okay if I play this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I'm with you. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I think your message, your story will give so much hope to so many parents. And I'm so glad that you're sharing this. It's mid progress.
Yes.
It's work in progress, but it's still reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
The things you've shared are so powerful and so empowering that I think anyone can feel hope that there's options, that just by changing food, taking some herbs, pressing some marma points, not only the mind becomes more calm, clear, grounded. I mean, that story about him getting a friend, not only one friend, but also a girlfriend. That's so awesome. And then how much it helps you and the whole family, so
Yeah,
cool.
it really does. Yeah. I'm just, I'm kind of in this state of gratitude, and it's amazing because sometimes I can't believe that we got here. I just wake up every day. I just feel so grateful, like, oh, this is what life can truly look like now versus what it looked like before when I was just totally stressed out all the time. So, and because he's so much better, I'm here able to be at a conference this weekend. I get to go meet you, Clint, in Montgomery, Alabama when you're there. And it's all because, you know, Charlie is so much better that I can leave.
Oh, so cool. You know, when I was interviewing someone in England, when Dr. Ram and I were traveling there was a woman who had severe ulcerative colitis that took her into the hospital multiple times.
Hmm.
And she lost her hair with all the side effects of the treatments and so many things. And she was a young girl, and she thought her life was over, basically.
Yeah.
And then only 1-2 years later, she was 80-90% better thanks to the ancient secrets. And, you know, she said something so profound. She talked about what message she would share to herself back when the days were feeling dark. And so, Beth, I want to know, for you, what message would you share with any other parents that are listening to saying, I want to feel what she feels now? Or what message would you share with yourself, you know, a year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think, you know, as parents, when we're faced with that question of what would we do for our children, the answer is always anything, right? We will do anything for our kids. And sometimes, you know, you think that there's no hope. You think that there's nothing that you can do to help. And this is life. And this just is the way that it is. And so you should start accepting that. So I guess the only thing I would say to parents is that there is hope, and don't give up. You know, it's not magic. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's so much about your mind. It's not magic, it's your mindset. Yeah. But it's so much about that, and just moving forward, and just pay attention to those little wins every day. What is the purpose for today? You know, what can I do just today? And to also, you know, not be so hard on yourself. I know I have the tendency to go to bed at night and I can say, you know, what could I have done better today? How could I have showed up better? And, oh, I yelled at him. I was impatient today. But just forgive yourself and know that, you know, they know that you love them. But yeah, just don't give up, I think, would be my message in those darkest moments, you know, but be gentle with yourself, get some sleep when you need it, and wake up the next day and just do it again.
Ah, so powerful. Yeah, Dr. Alman would always emphasize, you know, it's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's a deeper healing. And it's healing yourself in a way that's long-term, safe, non-toxic.
Yes.
Everything starts to feel better. And not only you feel better, your child feels better. Everyone feels great, you know?
Yes, it's definitely not going to hurt you to take, you know, to take care of your diet and yourself and your mind.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. You totally inspired us by sharing your powerful sharing. And I just want to say it applies, what she said applies to everyone, no matter what. You may not even be a parent. You may not even have children, but you may be facing some challenge. And in those moments, you may think, you know, you may not have a solution, but it doesn't mean that there isn't one, you know? And so it's having the open heart and the curious mind to explore things that maybe you may not have otherwise done, and do it for long enough so you can see these powerful results. So I'm just so happy that you shared this story. Thank you, Beth.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time. And yes, I can't wait for everyone to be on the Sunday call and be inspired by this and any other story that you have. And yeah, I'll miss tomorrow, but I will for sure see you guys all next week on Saturday and Sunday's call.
Awesome. And looking forward to seeing you in Alabama. Apparently, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's the first clinic there. So cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Clint.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.